Within these few days, Ling Han and the two girls also achieved their own breakthroughs. Liu Yutong had accumulated energy for a long time, plus she also had the 3 yin vanishing veins, which, together with the 3 yin mysterious arts, allowed her to maintain an overwhelmingly rapid cultivation pace. Moreover, she also had in her hands the 4 transformations pill, so naturally her cultivation speed was even faster than before. Most importantly, the 4 transformations pill would help her break through to the second layer of gushing spring tier. For most people, the barrier between cultivation levels was the hardest to pass. As long as you were willing to put in real effort, or had enough alchemical pills to support your cultivation, you would be able to smoothly cultivate from the early period of any layer all the way to the peak period. But to successfully break through, that was another problem. Even if it was only from the first layer of gushing spring tier to the second, this one step forward was extremely difficult to take. Why were there so few spiritual pedestal tier warriors in Rain Country? That was simple. They did not have enough comprehension of their cultivation levels, and were all stuck in spiritual ocean tier. And below spiritual ocean tier, there was also a large number of people who were stuck in gushing spring tier and element gathering tier. The 4 transformations pill could help a martial artist gain the comprehension of his cultivation level. If this spread out, it would be a hair-raising shock to anyone who found out. Liu Yutong was intelligent in the first place, plus, she had already been at the peak period of the first layer of gushing spring tier. Now that she had the aid of the 4 transformations pill, after a few days trying to break through, everything naturally went smoothly, and she advanced to the next level. She did not continue to raise her cultivation level. Instead, she put effort into strengthening her foundation. After all, she managed to reach her cultivation level with the help of medicine, so if she was too greedy and continued to advance, it would lead to her foundation being unstable. In the future, this would mean that she would be unable to reach a higher cultivation level. Ling Han also taught her the 4 seasons sword technique, which was a black-grade, high-level martial arts technique. Chances were high that not even the Liu clan had this kind of martial arts technique. Perhaps only the imperial family owned such a high-level martial arts technique. Thus, Liu Yutong had broken through the day before yesterday. After breaking through, she had spent the last 2 days studying the secrets of the 4 seasons sword technique, and if there was anything she didn't understand, she would ask Ling Han. As a result, her power rose at an extremely quick pace. A gushing spring tier elite actually asked for guidance about martial arts technique from an element gathering tier martial artist. This seemed to be a preposterous thing, yet Liu Yutong and Li Chan both felt that this was very natural and there was nothing strange about it. Ling Han was too much of a monster. Had he been now able to use heaven-grade martial arts techniques, most likely, the two girls would have only given an "ah" and then accept reality. Li Chan also managed to advance from the 3rd layer of element gathering tier to the 4th layer. Most alchemists were pill bottles, depending on alchemical pills to forcibly raise their cultivation levels, so naturally her body was highly immune to medicinal effects. Thankfully, her cultivation level was still low, so this immunity to medicines was not too strong. Thus, she also managed to advance to the next layer. Meanwhile, Ling Han broke through to the 6th layer of element gathering tier, and while his cultivation level was very low, his battle prowess was an extremely terrifying thing. 5 elements origin nuclei, 6 flashes of sword chi, indestructible heaven scroll, body of dead tree, all these added together would be enough to raise his attack power to 15 stars, while his defenses were even stronger. It would not be wrong to claim his defenses reached the level of 20 stars. It's still not enough. Ling Han shook his head. Only once he stepped into Gushing Spring tier would he be able to use black-grade, high-level martial arts techniques. The power upgrade from black-grade martial arts techniques was not something that yellow-grade martial arts techniques could compare to. He was sitting on a mountain of treasures. Yet he could only sigh. This feeling really displeased him. Liu Yutong only rolled her eyes at him. This guy was only in the 2nd layer of body refining tier just over half a year ago, Yet he had already broken through to the 6th layer of element gathering tier now, and he still thought that it was too slow. What about other normal martial artists then? They left their tents to meet with the others. Yi, Yutong, so you've already arrived. When a young man saw Liu Yutong, he immediately approached them. This man was Hubo. Watch my sword! When Liu Yutong saw him, she did not say anything but simply drew her sword and attacked him. That day, Hubo, in order to find her, went over to the Ling clan residence and made a huge commotion, killing and injuring a considerable number of people, which caused her to feel extremely guilty. Now that she had seen him, it was as if she had seen a mortal enemy. How could she hold herself back anymore? Naturally, from the first instant she saw him, she immediately began attacking him. What? When Liu Yutong attacked him, Hubo's expression immediately changed. 2nd layer of Gushing Spring tier. She had actually reached the 2nd layer of Gushing Spring tier. Previously, when he had seen Liu Yutong in Grey Cloud Town, she had just broken through to Gushing Spring tier, and now, it was only half a month later, and she had already reached the 2nd layer of Gushing Spring tier. The word genius was no longer enough to describe her. Right? She was like him, who had also gotten the full support of his clan to develop his talent, but he was still in the peak period of the 1st layer of Gushing Spring tier. It would at least be another month before he would be able to break through, and his progress was already very much praised by his clan. And he was claimed to be an exceptional genius. Yet when compared to Liu Yutong, he was an absolute idiot. Being under the fierce attacks of an elite of the 2nd layer of Gushing Spring tier, how could Hubo dare to hesitate any further? He quickly drew his own sword. If he had any slightest bit of reservations at this moment, he was likely to be defeated. If he were defeated by a woman he was pursuing, how would he still have the face to see Liu Yutong in the future? Ding, 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 ding. The two long swords continued to clash with each other, creating fierce sparks of fire from the friction. Ordinarily, the 2nd layer of Gushing Spring tier against the 1st layer would be a completely one-sided domination battle, but Liu Yutong had just broken through. Moreover, her breakthrough was successful because she had used alchemical pills, so her foundation was not yet strong enough, which naturally affected her battle prowess. And though Hubo had also reached his current cultivation level with the help of alchemical pills, he had, after all, been stuck at the peak period of the 1st layer for quite some time, so naturally, he had already solidified his foundation. Thus, the battle prowess these two could display was more or less equal, and it would be difficult to decide the victor of this battle in a short period of time. Yi, isn't this the Pearl of the Liu clan? Why is she so strong? That's right. I remember that just barely half a year ago, she was still in the 8th layer of element gathering tier, and it should be at least another 2 years before she'd be able to break through to Gushing Spring tier. Yet she is now actually in the 2nd layer of Gushing Spring tier. This is practically unbelievable. This beautiful flower is really getting harder and harder to pluck. However, she is also becoming more and more desirable. Such talent. I have my eye on this woman. Nonsense. You think you're worthy of her? Those who were gathered were all embroiled in their discussions. They were all either from the imperial family or the 8 great clans, and all of their clans had power that was no weaker than the Liu clans. And since they were able to come here, this also meant that their power and talent were the best of the best, so naturally, all of them had their own pride. Liu Yutong had attacked for a very long time, yet did not manage to get the upper hand, so the flames of rage in her heart became stronger and stronger. She suddenly flicked her sword, and a powerful sword intent circulated through her sword, and her whole figure became extremely solemn. 4 seasoned sword techniques. A black-grade high-level martial arts technique. This sword technique was separated into 4 different parts, each representing spring, summer, autumn, and winter. In truth, it could be considered as 4 different sword techniques, which combined into a major sword technique. The best scenario was for 4 different people to use each sword technique at the same time, which will drastically increase the power. But it was not impossible for a single person to circulate this sword technique. This required the user to have a high control over their sword. one move following after another. Spring followed by summer, autumn followed by winter, to form the cycle of the four seasons, which would also create a formidably powerful attack technique. Liu Yutong had only just learnt a few moves of the Spring Rain Sword technique, so naturally she was not able to form the cycle of seasons yet, which were the sword intents of Spring Rain, Summer Thunder, Autumn Wind, and Winter Snow. However, Black Grade high-level martial arts techniques were still Black Grade high-level martial arts techniques. Any single move would be enough to create a terrifying power. Shua, the light from the sword was extremely cold, and there actually appeared droplets of rain dancing through the air that followed the sword as it moved. It was an impressive sight. The beauty was like a painting, and her sword was like the most beautiful scene, causing all the others to feel as if they had become drunk just from watching her dance. Even some of them who had determined to spend their whole lives on martial arts now could not help their hearts from wavering, getting drunk from watching Liu Yutong's beauty. The beauty was like jade, while her sword was like a rainbow, causing a lot of them to feel the urge to write a poem or sing a song in her honor. There was only one thing left to say. It was too beautiful.